Japan is the world leader in opposing natural disasters such as earthquakes and tsunamis. The rising sun lies on the Pacific Ring of Fire, home to about 81% of the world's largest earthquakes, and particularly in Japan, almost 20% of Earth's earthquakes measured 6.0 or more occur here. The eastern shores are at a higher risk to the dangers of tsunamis due to the eruption of megaquakes stretching from the northeast to the southeast of Japan. Japan's largest Pacific tidal wave are so well known that the worldwide used word tsunami derives from Japanese origin. Two factors that most greatly contributed to the vulnerability of Iwate, Miyagi, and Fukushima residents to the Japanese tsunami of 2011 are geographical location and residents' financial status, because these cities are located above the Pacific Plate and North American Plate, making them an earthquake-prone area, and low-income residents struggle to find affordable housing, which forces them to reside in these coastal earthquake-prone areas.
Jimmy, did you feel that?
Yeah.
The tsunami is coming. We have to go. Jimmy! Jimmy! Jimmy, turn off the TV. We need to know what's going on.
This graph is a contour graph, which represents the tsunami's height at different regions. The red-colored region is the closest to the epicenter. It shows that there is a major tsunami of a height of 3 meters or above, meaning that the closer an area is to the epicenter, the taller the tsunami's height will be. A pattern that we notice is that the height of the tsunami is higher when it is near the epicenter, and lowest when it is the further from the epicenter. An inference is that the closest the coast is to the epicenter, the more damage there will be. The information represented in this graph is significant because people deciding to live in the coastal areas can prepare for tsunamis by knowing the location of the epicenter. Based on this information, we can predict that which region will be the most affected from an incoming tsunami based off the distance it is to the epicenter.
This graph is a line graph, which represents the height of the tsunami at different distances from the earthquake's epicenter. When the distance from the epicenter was at 100 kilometers, the height of the tsunami was at its highest, being 14 meters. This means that the earthquakes that are closer to the epicenter are stronger than those that are further away. A pattern that we notice is that the height of the tsunami is always above 2 meters until it is about 500 kilometers from the epicenter. The information represented in this graph is significant because different communities can be informed about the height of tsunamis based on how close they are from the epicenter. Based on the information based on this graph, we can predict that the height of the tsunami would keep on decreasing.
Using both of these graphs, we can tell whether evacuation is necessary. If the epicenter of an earthquake is about 600 kilometers from the shore, then evacuation will not be necessary as the seawalls will ensure protection. In another scenario, if the epicenter of an earthquake is about 100 kilometers from the shore, then evacuation will have to be necessary as the seawalls will not guarantee the safety of human life. Jimmy, we need to go. We need to pack our stuff and go.
Yeah.
Alright, Jimmy, let's go.
There are several factors that most impacted or led the community of Japan into a vulnerable state for the tsunami that hit in 2011, and those influential factors helped prepare the community for the natural disaster. Japan has the third largest economy, which is a big impact on growth and investments. Therefore, power plants were put in place to increase the economy. One factor that played a role in the vulnerability of the community was the disaster-prone placement of power plants. The economic greed overrode the safety of the citizens. According to Shayla A. Smith, 30 million Japanese lived within the 150 miles of the Fukushima and the densely populated metropolis of Tokyo. In earthquake-prone Japan, the Fukushima disaster suggested that Japan's 54 nuclear reactors, most along the coastline, could suffer the same fate. This shows the supervision of Japan's nuclear power plant placement was inadequate, placing the power plant close to the coast left it in great danger, being one of the first to get hit in case of a tsunami. There is an insufficient amount of risk assessments and disaster management to prevent accidents from the nuclear plant. A way in which this factor influenced the community's preparation was by simply shutting off these nuclear power plants.
Another factor that left the community was the social division between different social status and the government. Japan is very divided between classes, being mostly of middle class. This left citizens that fell under the category of lower class to be oversought. According to the article, Japan, How a Quake Changed a Culture, Michael Fitzpatrick states, previously, Japan was marked by a comparatively complacent middle class, which had a little sense of solidarity and which gave less time to civil society and less money to charities than its Western counterparts. This goes to show that the lack of unity and communication between each other had an impact on the vulnerability of the community. The government was concerned for themselves and the profit of Japan's economy, while their lower-class citizens cared over themselves. The absence of communication didn't help the situation. A way in which this factor influenced the community's preparation was through the 1.52 million volunteers assisting to help rebuild the affected communities. The support for these affected communities, which inhabit most lower-class citizens, was shown more by volunteer work rather than donations from charities.
Bienvenidos, soy Andrés Salinas y acabo de anunciar un terremoto de magnitud 9.0 que desafortunadamente causó un gran tsunami. El tsunami ha destruido edificios en las zonas costeras de las prefecturas de Miyagi, Iwate y Fukushima. Si viven en estas áreas, tomen precaución, busquen refugio, manténganse informados y deben armar un equipo de suministros que consista en comida, agua, baterías, lámparas, un botiquín de primeros auxilios y cosas necesarias. Y ahora vamos con Cecilia López.
De acuerdo al artículo Mortality in the 2011 Tsunami in Japan, más del 99% de todas las muertes fueron en Miyagi, Iwate y Fukushima.
Gracias, Cecilia. La mayoría o 92% de las muertes fueron causadas de ahogamiento. Cuando el terremoto y tsunami ocurrió, todos los trenes fueron detenidos, las plantas nucleares cerradas. Los canales de televisión fueron cambiados para demostrar las áreas afectadas. También proporcionaron preparación para otro terremoto. La fuerza japonesa demuestra con los 1.52 millones de ayudantes que ayudaron los centros de evacuación, quitando los escombros de edificios y la reconstrucción de las comunidades afectadas. Gracias por escuchar. Cuídense y hasta la próxima. Tu canal, tu equipo.
From the darkness into the light. Since the tsunami destroyed their village over a week ago, these boys have walked several kilometers a day, collecting whatever food and supplies they could find, and then carrying them back to the village. Not for themselves, but for the hundreds of other survivors. At this Buddhist temple turned evacuation shelter, people waited for days for outside help. It was the boys who gave the young and the elderly some of their first warm meals.
They are an enormous help. At difficult times like this, not everyone can do what they are doing.
The idea of volunteering started with one boy, who was soon joined by another, and then another. Taro was once a village of 4,000. It's believed half of its residents died here. Everyone in the group lost people they knew.
Before this, everyone had such distressed looks on their faces. But since we started, my family and others have smiles again. That's been rewarding.
The boys were all in this school when the earthquake struck. Fortunately, their teachers had a sense that a tsunami was possible and ordered them to high ground. They made it just as the massive wave came in. Since then, they've worked tirelessly, through thick mud, and the very water that destroyed their town. With roads initially cut off, they fashioned their own ways to get around. Now, as help from the outside has made it in, their burden is less, offering their first moments to reflect.
My family is all safe, but people I knew, like neighbours who could not evacuate in time or went back to get something, all lost their lives. There are many like that.
Friends before the tsunami, they say giving like this has forged an even stronger bond between them. A band of brothers, turning misfortune into something good.
200 years later in LA.
Really? Yeah. Check the TV.
There was a 6.9 magnitude earthquake in LA and the tsunami is heading toward that way, so please evacuate.
Good thing we have an army and we keep all these minis through. Yo.